Just stand near the wall. You're not in the official family pictures. That's what my sister said to me on her wedding day. She was fixing her dress and smiling for the photographers, the big flash cameras making her sparkle. I wasn't late. I wasn't dressed badly. I wasn't even trying to be noticed. I was just standing there, quietly like I always did in this family, a little outside the pictures, a little like I didn't belong. I looked for the seat they gave me. It was supposed to be at table 6, seat 3. My name was written on a little card in gold letters. But when I got there, someone else was sitting in my seat. A girl I didn't know. She had blonde hair, shiny sparkly clothes, and was chewing gum. She smiled at me. "Oh," she said. "Someone told me this seat was open." It turned out she was a friend of the cousin of the groom's fiancé. She wasn't even family. I quietly asked a server if there were any extra seats. He just shrugged his shoulders like he didn't care. I didn't want to cause trouble, so I stood near the exit, holding my little purse with both hands. I tried really hard not to be in anyone's way. That's when I heard my dad's voice, right behind me. "Honestly, I don't even know why Aelira's here," he said. "She's always so heavy. She ruins things. She doesn't fit." Then he said it to someone else too. I didn't know who he was talking to. I froze. Not because I hadn't heard mean things before, but because this time he said it out loud. At a wedding. Around people. As if it was okay to say. I didn't cry. I didn't ask questions. I didn't try to get my seat back. I just turned and walked to the gift table. My envelope was easy to find. Thick, white, with a small card and a folded check inside. $1,000. I had worked for 6 months to save that money. But suddenly I knew they wouldn't miss it. I picked it up, put it in my purse, and walked back down the aisle. The aisle I wasn't allowed to walk down during the ceremony. People looked at me. Heads turned. Some whispered. I didn't stop. When I reached the front exit, I looked back once and said, "Don't worry. I won't ruin anything else." And then I walked out. What happened after that would change the picture-perfect image my family worked so hard to keep. Because they forgot something very important. They raised the quiet one. And quiet doesn't mean weak. I used to think there was something wrong with me. When your own family acts like you are in the way, you start to believe it. That you are too quiet. Too awkward. Too smart or not smart enough. Too emotional. Too much. Or in my case, invisible. Growing up, my sister Isolde was the golden child. She sparkled. She danced. She lit up every room she walked into. At least, that's what everyone said. She had all the awards in frames on the walls, the solo parts in school musicals, the letters saying she got into college. Everyone toasted her. Everyone clapped. Everyone said how amazing she was. I wasn't jealous. I was just tired. Tired of being her shadow. Tired of my dad forgetting my birthday. Tired of my mom telling me to stop overthinking when I cried quietly in my room because they left me out again. I got good grades. I followed all the rules. I helped at home. Still, I was the one they forgot when they introduced me to people. "Oh, and that's Aelira, our other daughter," they would say. Like I was an afterthought. Like I was a shadow. I put myself through community college while Isolde got a fully paid degree at a private university. She always had so much potential, everyone said. I was just practical. I started working right after graduation. Admin jobs, design jobs, temp jobs. Quietly saving money. Always careful. Always patient. Isolde got engaged to a man whose family threw parties that looked like something out of a magazine. They planned the wedding in less than 6 months. Everyone was involved, except me. I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid. I wasn't invited to dress fittings. I didn't get a "will you stand beside me" card in the mail. Just a text. "Hey, can you RSVP online? Hope you're free that weekend." That was my little sister. I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they didn't realize. But then came the wall comment, the seat mix-up, and finally, my dad saying I didn't deserve to be there. At that moment, something inside me clicked. I realized I had spent years trying to earn space in a room that never had a seat for me. So I took back the one thing that was mine. My choice, my voice, my envelope, my exit. And what they didn't know was I wasn't just walking away. I had something they didn't expect. Something important. Leverage. At first, they didn't notice. I left before the first dance. Before the cake. Before the speeches. Maybe they thought I was just being dramatic. Maybe they thought I was sulking. They were half right. But they didn't know I had walked out of their story. 2 days later, Isolde texted me. "Hey, saw you left early. Is everything okay?" I didn't reply. She didn't follow up. Then my mom sent a text. "I hope you didn't take what your dad said too seriously. You know how he is after wine. I remembered clearly. His mind was not drunk. His heart was mean. I didn't reply. By the end of the week, I had a voicemail from my aunt. "We missed you at brunch. Are you still upset about the seat mix-up?" Then my dad called. "You could have said something before storming off. That was embarrassing for your sister." None of them asked if I was okay. They just cared that the pictures didn't look right without me. That there was no envelope in the gift box with my name. Then came the post-wedding awkwardness. The photographer uploaded the pictures to a private gallery. Isolde shared them in the family WhatsApp group. I wasn't in a single one. Not at the ceremony, not in the family pictures, not even standing near the wall. My cousin texted me privately. "Hey, did they ask you not to be in the pictures?" I replied. I wasn't really part of the plan. He didn't answer. 3 minutes later, Isolde removed me from the WhatsApp group. That should have hurt. But it didn't. For the first time in years, the silence was mine. I chose it. A week later, my boss called me into her office. She had been at the wedding, not as a guest but as a consultant for the venue. I didn't even know. "Are you okay?" she asked. I nodded. "You know how they treated you, right?" I saw it. It was like watching someone get erased from their own family. I swallowed. She reached into her drawer and pulled out a folder. "I know something you don't. They're not just cruel, they're careless. And if you want, you could do something about it." Inside the folder were 2 signed documents connected to the wedding. The first was a venue rental agreement. It listed Isolde and her husband as co-signers, but also listed my employer, my boss, as the owner of the land where the reception was held. She owned the property. The second document was a private service agreement. It confirmed that all vendors, caterer, DJ, photographer, even parking attendants, were paid under one invoice. And guess who was listed as the event sponsor? Me. Or more specifically, the work fund I manage at my job. I was allowed to use it for special events as long as it helped the company. My boss had arranged it as a favor. She offered to cover the venue and all the essentials under my name. My family didn't know. They signed contracts that unknowingly made me the main person paying for the wedding. I had already taken the envelope from the gift table. That $1,000 was the least important thing I took that night. My boss smiled at me. "You're allowed to do nothing. Just walk away. Or, if you want, I can back you legally." For the first time, I didn't want just closure. I wanted them to understand. To feel what it's like to be erased, excluded, and forgotten. That night, I looked through every contract carefully. The signed papers said the event sponsorship must be acknowledged. The invoices showed the venue was paid under my work account. The catering contract had my special food requests listed. They never served them. Everything lined up perfectly. They hadn't just humiliated me. They had broken an agreement. And for the first time, I had proof. Something they couldn't ignore, lie about, or gaslight away. The next morning, I made a list. Take back company funds. Tell the vendors about the rules they ignored. Email Isolde and her husband about the terms they didn't follow. But I didn't act angrily. There were no threats. No yelling. No posts on social media. Just a polite, clean email with all the papers attached and one final line. It said clearly that they had to follow the rules, that I had been erased, and that if they wanted to include me, they needed to do it properly. That was all. For the first time in my life, I had taken back the power. I wasn't invisible anymore. I wasn't a shadow. I wasn't just standing near the wall. I had walked out of their story, but I had also rewritten my own. They would remember me now. Not because I begged or cried. Not because I shouted or yelled. But because I had been quiet, smart, and careful. And sometimes the quiet ones are the ones who see everything, who notice everything, and who know exactly what to do when it finally matters. This is what happened. The quiet I gave them before came back to me, but bigger. Much bigger. They didn't answer my email right away. Isolde didn't open it for 3 whole days. I could see that she had looked at it on her husband's phone, but she didn't reply. I wasn't waiting for them to say thank you. No, I was waiting for them to be surprised. And that's exactly what happened. On the 4th day, my phone made a buzzing sound. It was a blocked number. That means I didn't know who it was at first. But it went straight to voicemail. My dad's voice said in a serious tone, "Aelira, what is this about the wedding place? Your sister says you are asking for things like a lawyer. I don't know what you are trying to do, but this isn't funny. You are embarrassing yourself. Stop it." I smiled because they still didn't understand. They thought this was about feelings, about being mad. But really it was bigger than that. They had broken an important agreement. They had ignored rules that they had promised to follow. The DJ called me. He sounded confused. He asked me why the sponsor was taking away permission to share the music online. I explained that the sponsor was me. That means I had paid for the music to be used, and because they had broken the agreement, they couldn't post it anymore. The photographer emailed me too. She said she couldn't post the wedding pictures without permission from the main sponsor. Again, that sponsor was me. My name wasn't on anything because they hadn't included me. But I had helped pay for everything. That meant I had the right to say what could be shared. Isolde had worked hard to make a social media album of the wedding. She had spent hours picking the pictures, writing the captions, adding filters, and tagging everyone. But now it was all gone. Taken down. My name wasn't in it, but I had paid for it. That didn't seem fair. I didn't reply to Dad's voicemail. Instead, I sent another notice. This time it went through my boss's lawyer. The lawyer wrote it professionally and seriously. It said that they had broken rules and had said things that weren't true about the wedding. I didn't yell. I didn't use mean words. I just wrote calmly with care. But it was strong. It was serious. It hit hard. After that, there was silence. 2 days later, Isolde emailed me. There was no subject line. She just wrote, "Why are you doing this?" There was no sorry. No, you were right. No mention of the photos. No mention of what Dad had said. Just confusion. She had never been the one missing out before. For the first time, she couldn't have something she wanted. I didn't reply. I went for a walk instead. I got a coffee. I walked slowly and noticed the world around me. I saw a little girl hug her mom outside a bookstore. I watched how the girl held her mom tight, how her mom held her back. And then I understood something important. They weren't sorry. They were scared. Scared that the person they thought didn't matter actually mattered. Scared that the version of me they kept away from them was now in a place they needed. So I replied carefully. Not with anger, not with shouting, not with crying. Just carefully. I wrote, "You asked why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it. You did. You signed the papers. You accepted the money. You left me out. I am just following the rules you made. You said I didn't belong. I accept that. You can keep the day, just not the pictures." Within a week, the wedding posts were gone. All the tags were removed. The photos couldn't be shared. Isolde went quiet because for the first time, she couldn't erase me without losing everything else. Nothing exploded. It was quiet. But it worked. Emails weren't answered. Photos never came back. Vendors didn't want to work with Isolde for a magazine article because the permissions weren't right. They did this to themselves. They didn't realize what they had done. A week later, Mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was stiff and brittle, like she was trying very hard to pick the right words. "Aelira, I don't know what this is about, but you made your point. Can we just move on and be a family again?" The word that stuck with me was act. They wanted us to act like everything was fine. Act like we were close. Act like I had never been hurt. They didn't say sorry. They didn't say I was right. They just wanted the problems to stop. That's not an apology. That's a reset button. And I didn't press it. My cousin quietly told me, "I'm proud of you." He said that Isolde kept telling everyone. Aelira overreacted. But everyone knew she had embarrassed me. One vendor even left a review online. The bride's family ignored the rules. Poor communication. Would not work with you again. They thought I didn't matter. But I was the one person they couldn't erase without breaking things. They had planned a small brunch after the wedding with local press friends. They wanted people to write about it and take pictures. But when the press learned the contracts weren't followed, no one came. No story, no photos, no excitement. Just an awkward brunch. The family sat in silence, not knowing what to do. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I didn't post it on social media. I didn't brag. I didn't even tell my friends unless they asked. This wasn't revenge. It was showing that I had worth. That I had boundaries. That I mattered, even if they didn't see it. They thought silence was a weakness. But silence, when used the right way, is very strong. I didn't plan to change my life after the wedding. But when you stop shrinking to fit other people, it's hard to go back. The quiet gave me space. And space became freedom. No more tiptoeing around calls. No more awkward dinners pretending we were close. No more invisible hurts from people who smiled but cut with their silence. I took the wedding gift money. Not just the envelope I got back, but the full amount that was meant to go through my employer. I started a project I had been saving for years. It was a program for young girls who don't get many chances. Girls like me. We met every week. We taught each other skills. We built portfolios. We shared stories. We made things that mattered. The program grew fast. By spring, sponsors wanted to help. By summer, I left my old job and got a leadership role I never thought I could have. I wasn't waiting to be included anymore. I was making my own place. My apartment changed too. I replaced things I wanted, not needed. Lamps, blankets, wall art. I filled it with softness, color, and laughter from new friends. Friends who knew me just as Aelira, not as old sister. For the first time, people came to my home and saw me. Not what I was missing, but who I was becoming. Months later, I walked past a coffee shop Isolde had tagged for a sister date. I didn't go in. I didn't need their story anymore. I had my own. People think rising means winning, but for me it meant not needing a scoreboard. It meant waking up and not caring if people were talking about me, inviting me, or thinking I was enough. It was enough. The version of me who stood by the wall, eyes down, waiting to be invited, doesn't live here anymore. She was replaced by a woman who brings her own chair, or walks away if none is offered. I still have the dress I wore to the wedding. It hangs in my closet, clean and untouched. Not because I can't let go, but because I remember. I remember standing in a room with no seat saved for me. I remember Dad saying I didn't deserve to be there. I remember leaving without yelling or asking anyone to follow. That dress isn't a scar. It's a marker. A quiet line between the girl who waited to be invited and the woman who left. Sometimes people ask if I reconnected with my family. No, they never said sorry. They never asked how I felt. They just wanted the problems to end. I didn't give them that. Forgiveness is about choosing yourself, even if it means being alone. Since then, I've made more life than I ever did before. I spoke at small conferences. I wrote an article about feeling invisible that went viral. I helped a student get a full scholarship. Her card says, "Thank you for not asking me to be small." I broke the cycle. They tried to make me small. But I was never meant to stand in the shadows. They were just scared of me in the light. The last time I heard from Isolde, she texted 6 words. "You made your point. We're done." She meant it to punish me. I read it as freedom. I wasn't trying to prove them wrong. I was proving to myself that I didn't need them. I didn't need their seat, their spotlight, or their approval. I didn't need a family that only remembered me when it was convenient. I needed peace. And now I have it. Sometimes I think about the wedding, the music, the lights, the laughter. I wonder if they noticed something missing. Not because I was loud, not because I was dramatic, but because when the quiet one leaves, it echoes louder than any speech. And now I don't need to be in the picture to know I made the frame. I made it all possible. They just didn't notice. I learned something very important. Being quiet doesn't mean being weak. Being patient doesn't mean being small. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean being mean. It means knowing you matter. It means knowing your space is yours. It means knowing your energy is valuable. Sometimes I still feel a little sad when I think about the wedding. Not because I didn't get a seat, or because I wasn't in the photos. But because I realized for the first time that I could stand on my own. That I didn't need to wait for anyone. I think about the music that played that day. The lights are shining. The people were laughing. And I smile because I know now that the room could have been full. But I wasn't missing. I was choosing. I was choosing myself. And that is something very, very special.